1947, Princess Margaret and Princess Elizabeth both attended the Coliseum Theatre in the very heart of London. It's an amazing place, chums, let me tell you. I've appeared on that stage, absolutely. It's a huge, huge venue. And they were there simply because they'd really enjoyed or heard all about this particular show. But there was one person that they were very keen on, and the Queen Elizabeth, remained a lifelong fan. So much so that this gong-tooting singer, well, they became friends behind the scenes. As ever, let me explain. Lovely to see you today in this gorgeous sunlight. Now I just want to share this with you and tell me if this is true. There's a report come out, there's always a report, isn't there? And apparently when you buy your Easter eggs, say for your children or your grandchildren, secretly sometimes you break into them, eat them, and then you have to buy them again. You're nodding, aren't you? Yes, you see, that's the thing. People do, don't they? You've got full of good intentions. You've bought them, you've put them away, all of that. But then suddenly you think, you know what? I know where there's a bit of chocolate. So you help yourself. I know. Well, mine's a Cadbury's Caramel, if you like those. Do you know those ones? They're the ones with the toffee in. A lot nicer than the normal traditional. But have you noticed, I know I say this, but how small have the Easter eggs now got? There's more sort of cardboard to eat than there is chocolate, isn't there? You know, that's what, yes, absolutely. Let's get back to 1947. Yeah, well, I know. 1947, as I say, the Queen, as we now know her, of course, but then Princess Elizabeth, alongside Princess Margaret, went to the Coliseum, and they were absolutely mesmerised by this brilliant musical, Annie, Get Your Gun. But the person that they truly admired, and this is what I love sharing these stories with you, is none other than the MGM Hollywood star, Dolores Gray. Now, it won't surprise you to know that I met Dolores Gray, albeit very briefly. You see, way back in the 80s, she was appearing, I'm not sure what, I think it was called the Shaftesbury Theatre. Yeah, it was then, yeah, the Shaftesbury Theatre. I think it's still called that now, in a revival of Follies, Sondheim's Follies. And she was sort of the main part. In fact, I saw two people in that, Eartha Kitt and Dolores Gray. I think I've got the programme somewhere. It's funny how your mind wanders, isn't it? You know. But anyway, yes. And she had that big song, you know, the song I'm Still Here, a terrific song, all about the perils of show business where they kick you around, knock you about. And apparently this was a favourite of Queen Elizabeth. I wonder what she sort of saw in that song. But way back in 1947, as I say, Dolores Gray was one of those stars just on the cusp of big things, you know. A very successful, beautiful singer, dancer, and operator, let's not forget that. Now, when it came around to the 1949 Royal Variety Performance, which was held at the Coliseum, the place where the Queen had seen Annie, Get Your Gun, she suggested, you know, because in those days, it's hard to remember this, but they sort of used to say to the royal family, you know, who would you like to see? Is there any particular person? And she knew that Dolores Gray was in town doing cabaret, and she said she was marvellous. If she was available, that would be nice. And that's exactly how Dolores Gray ended up on that year's Royal Variety Performance with a stellar bunch of people. Now this, you've got to remember, is now not televised at this point. Television's still in its infancy. The Queen sort of invented that with her coronation in 1953, as we all know. Now, what happened was, because that she liked her so much, Dolores Gray ended up being in subsequent Royal Variety shows and a couple of private performances out at Windsor Castle. And the reason why I share this story is it's fascinating because as now, you know, sadly we lost Queen Elizabeth, it's wonderful to know exactly who did she like, who made her laugh, and in particular, what songs did she like. Now, the reason why I said the gun-tooting singer, of course, everybody remembers, don't they, Annie, Get Your Gun, with Betty Hutton. Now, I believe that Betty Hutton, interviewing Lorna Luft, of course, originally that was going to star Judy Garland, but they sadly fired her because apparently she was having one of her moments, you know, periodical sort of breakdowns, as it were. So they decided to replace her. And there is footage online, right, chums, if you want to see Judy performing. And again, you would say, does this woman look ill? I don't think so. Sublime performances, but clearly somebody behind the scenes at MGM decided differently. Now, Dolores Gray, as I said, when I met her backstage, albeit very briefly, you know the sort of person where you meet them and they've got instant star power. It was a big cast of Follies at that point, you know, big names in it, but she really stood out as a person that you think, wow, this is a woman of importance. I had no idea at that point that, of course, she'd, performed so many times in front of royalty. She was just very nice, very polite, very sweet woman. There's another story behind that particular musical as well. Liza Minnelli, the daughter of Judy Garland, ended up having a major disco hit with a disco version of I'm Still Here. And that was because Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe of the Pet Shop Boys went to see Dolores Gray in that show, and they decided at that point this would make a good track. And who better than Liza Minnelli to turn it into a global hit? And that is the story of the Queen, the Princess, and the gun-tooting Hollywood star. Neil Sean in the very heart of Yorkshire.